They walked into your life thinking they were so smart, so powerful, so untouchable. You know the type. They love playing games with people's feelings, breaking hearts and crushing spirits. They picked you because they thought you'd be an easy target, just another person to use and throw away. But here's the funny part. They didn't see coming. You're not their victim. You're their teacher. And the lesson you're about to teach them, it's going to stick. Think about it. Every time they hurt you, you learned something new. Every lie they told made you better at spotting truth. Every time they betrayed you, you grew stronger. While they were busy playing their little games, you were getting tougher, smarter, more powerful. They thought they were breaking you down, but really, they were building you up. Like a boxer who gets stronger with every punch, you took their hits and turned them into strength. Here's what makes this so beautiful. They have no idea what's coming. They're still thinking they've got all the power, that they're in control. Meanwhile, you're changing. Every tear they caused, that's water helping you grow. Every time they pushed you down, that's just you learning how to get back up stronger. They thought they were writing your story, but really, they were just the opening chapter of your comeback. And trust me, they won't like the ending. Watch how confused they get when their old tricks stop working on you. It's like a kid who keeps trying to play the same prank, getting more and more frustrated when it doesn't work anymore. They try to hurt you. You grow stronger. They try to scare you. You get braver. They try to break you. You rebuild better. Everything they do to destroy you just makes you more powerful. And slowly, it starts to drive them crazy. The best part? You don't have to do anything except keep getting better. You don't need revenge. You don't need to fight back. Just keep growing. Keep improving. Keep turning their poison into your medicine. Because one day, they're going to look up and realize that the person they tried to destroy has become someone they can't touch. And that realization, it's going to hit them harder than any revenge ever could. Pay attention to how they start acting different when they notice you're changing. First, they'll try their old tricks harder, like turning up the volume when something's not working. Then, they'll start to panic. Because people like that, they only know how to deal with victims. They don't know what to do with survivors. And honey, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Each day you get stronger, their power gets weaker. It's like watching a bully realize their victim has been secretly taking martial arts classes. They throw their best punch, and suddenly it doesn't land anymore. They try their meanest words, but they don't hurt like they used to. Every weapon they used against you becomes useless, one by one, and they can't figure out why. That's when the real lesson begins. This isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. While they're stuck playing the same old games, you're leveling up. They're still using the same tricks they learned in high school, while you're turning into someone who could teach a masterclass in survival. Every blow they land just shows you another way to be stronger. Every game they play just teaches you another way to win. The universe has a way of balancing things out, and sometimes it picks the most unexpected teachers. You didn't ask for this role. You didn't want to be their life lesson. But here you are, getting stronger every day, turning into exactly what they need to see. Proof that you can't keep hurting people without consequences. Some people learn through love and kindness. Others, They learn by realizing they picked the wrong person to mess with. There's a special kind of justice in watching someone realize they hurt the wrong person. Not because you're going to hurt them back, but because you're going to succeed despite everything they did to stop you. Every time they see you smile, they'll remember when they tried to make you cry. Every time they hear about your success, they'll remember when they tried to break you. God put you in their life not to be their victim, but to be living proof that what goes around comes around. And sometimes it comes back stronger. Small cuts don't bleed much, but day after day, they leave scars. That's how they work. Not with big dramatic scenes that anyone could point to and say, that's abuse. Instead, they chip away at you, piece by piece. You're too sensitive. Can't you take a joke? Why do you always mess things up? Each comment feels small on its own, like pebbles dropping into a pond. But those ripples add up, turning into waves that wash away your confidence, your joy, your sense of what's real. Words become walls around your mind. Yesterday, you knew who you were. Someone with dreams, someone with worth, someone who deserved good things. But they keep talking, keep criticizing, keep pointing out every tiny flaw until you start to wonder. Maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you do mess everything up. Maybe you're the crazy one for thinking there's something wrong with how they treat you. The scariest part? You don't even notice yourself starting to believe them. Through the fog of their lies, everything gets twisted. That friend who used to make you laugh, they tell you she's just pretending to like you. That job promotion you were proud of, they say you only got it because people felt sorry for you. That dream you had, they call it stupid, unrealistic, a waste of time. And slowly, like poison seeping into water, their words become your thoughts. You start to see yourself through their eyes, and everything looks ugly and wrong. Down in the dark spaces of self-doubt, their voice becomes your voice. You drop something. I'm so stupid. Someone disagrees with you. I must be wrong. Good things happen. I don't deserve this. Bad things happen. This is all my fault. Your mind becomes a courtroom where you're always guilty, always wrong, always to blame. The prosecutor? That's their voice in your head, using evidence they planted there one cruel comment at a time. Between what's real and what they tell you is real, a gap grows wider each day. You start doubting your own memory. Did that really happen? Am I remembering it wrong? Maybe they're right. Maybe I am imagining things. Maybe I am being too dramatic. This confusion isn't an accident. It's like someone rearranging furniture in a dark room. After a while, you stop trusting your own steps, afraid of crashing into something that wasn't there before. Your strength scares them. That's why they work so hard to convince you it's not real. Every time you stand up for yourself, they push harder to knock you down. Every time you show confidence, they double down on making you doubt yourself. They need you weak, confused, always questioning yourself. Because the moment you realize your true power, their game is over. So they keep you tangled in guilt, wrapped in self-doubt, drowning in confusion. Under their constant criticism, you become your own worst enemy. The prison they built in your mind doesn't need guards anymore. You police yourself now. You apologize for existing. You make yourself smaller. You give up dreams before they can tell you they're worthless. You hurt yourself before they can hurt you. It's like living in a house where all the mirrors are broken and they keep handing you the shards. telling you this twisted reflection is the real you. Inside the maze of manipulation, you lose track of up and down. Good days become traps. They use them to make you doubt the bad ones. See? I can be nice when you behave. Why do you only remember the negative things? They rewrite history while you're still living it, making you question every feeling, every reaction, every memory. It's like trying to solve a puzzle while they keep changing the pieces behind your back. Light breaks through cracks. They didn't mean to leave. Maybe a friend says something that makes you pause. Maybe you read something that sounds too familiar. Maybe you just wake up one day and realize you're tired of carrying blame that isn't yours. The awakening is slow, like dawn creeping over a battlefield. But once you start seeing clearly, you can't unsee the truth. Their power was always built on making you believe their lies about yourself. This is why God put you in their life, not to be broken by them, but to show them how spectacularly their tactics can backfire. Every lie they told about you becomes a truth you get to disprove. Every way they tried to weaken you becomes another thing you learn to overcome. Every time they made you question your sanity, they were really just teaching you to trust yourself again. Not all wounds bleed, and not all scars show up in mirrors. If someone hits you, people see the bruises. They gasp. They offer help. They tell you to run. But mental abuse? Those wounds hide beneath your smile. They live in the way you flinch when someone raises their voice. They show up in how you apologize for everything, even the weather. They hide in the way you make yourself small in crowded rooms. No one brings casseroles to heal a broken spirit. No one offers bandages for a wounded soul. Memories leave marks deeper than any knife could cut. Years after the shouting stops, certain words still make your hands shake. Long after you've walked away, specific tones of voice can freeze you in place. A random song, a particular smell, even a harmless phrase. Suddenly you're right back there, feeling small, feeling worthless, feeling crazy. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. That knot in your stomach when the phone rings. The way your shoulders tense when someone's being too nice, because you've learned that kindness often comes with a price. The headaches that show up when you try to make decisions, because you still hear their voice telling you you'll choose wrong. These aren't just habits or quirks. They're your battle scars, telling stories of wars fought in living rooms and bedrooms, with words as weapons and silence as shields. Behind closed doors and drawn curtains, wars rage without a sound. No one sees how a simple, "You're too sensitive," can cut deeper than any blade. No one notices how "I'm just trying to help" can feel like a punch to the gut when it comes wrapped in manipulation. The battlefield looks like a normal house. The weapons look like normal conversations. The casualties are things you can't see. Trust, self-worth, the ability to believe in love without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Words thrown like grenades leave craters in your confidence. You're worthless. Boom. There goes your self-esteem. No one else will ever love you. Bang. Your trust in relationships shatters. You're crazy for thinking that. Crash. Your grip on reality shakes. Each explosion leaves no visible mark, but the damage spreads under the surface, like cracks in a foundation. Years later, you're still finding pieces of yourself that need to be put back together. Healing happens in layers, like painting over old walls. First comes the safety, getting away from the person who hurt you. Then comes the anger, realizing what they did wasn't your fault. Next is the grief, mourning the person you were before they started breaking you down. But the deepest layer, that's learning to trust yourself again. Learning that your feelings are real, your thoughts matter, and your instincts aren't broken. It's the slowest layer, but it's the most important. Every fake smile you put on was another brick in your wall of survival. Every time you swallowed your words to keep the peace, you were learning how strong you really are. Every moment you spent questioning your sanity was actually teaching you how to trust your gut. The pain they caused doesn't show up in photographs, but it shows up in your resilience. In the way you survived something that would have broken others. In how you kept your heart beating, even when they tried to convince you it wasn't worth the trouble. Through the shadows of doubt they planted in your mind, light still finds its way. Maybe it starts with a small rebellion, disagreeing with someone and realizing the world doesn't end. Maybe it's noticing that other people don't flinch when you share your opinions. Or maybe it's just waking up one day and realizing their voice in your head isn't as loud as it used to be. Healing isn't linear. It's more like waves, washing away their footprints from your beach, one tide at a time. Deep in the quiet moments between who you were and who you're becoming, understanding grows like flowers through concrete. Those invisible wounds, they're not just scars, they're stories of survival. Each anxiety, each fear, each moment of self-doubt isn't just damage. It's proof that you lived through something real, something that would have destroyed someone else. The fact that these wounds are invisible doesn't make them less valid. If anything, it makes you stronger, because you kept fighting, even when no one else could see the battle. Sitting alone with your pain feels like holding something sharp. Every way you turn, it cuts you. Most people try to run from their wounds. They cover them up, pretend they're not there, keep moving until they can't feel them anymore. But those wounds are like children crying in the dark. They don't stop hurting just because you ignore them. They get louder, more desperate, more demanding, until one day you realize the only way forward is to turn around and face them, to hold them gently, like you would hold a scared child, and say, "I see you. I hear you. Your pain matters. Your heart holds memories, like a box holds old photographs, some beautiful, some painful, all part of your story. When someone hurts you, it's easy to get angry, easy to want revenge, easy to build walls so high nothing can ever touch you again. But walls that keep out pain also keep out healing. The trick isn't to become harder, it's to become gentler. Not with them, but with yourself. To look at your younger self, the one who got hurt, and instead of saying, "You should have known better," saying, "You did the best you could with what you knew." Touch your scars with kindness, and watch how differently they feel. That moment when you trusted the wrong person. Stop calling it stupidity. Call it courage to believe in love. That time you stayed too long in a bad situation. Stop calling it weakness. Call it hope that things could get better. That decision you regret. Stop calling it failure. Call it a lesson you needed to learn. When you change how you talk to yourself about your past, you change how your past lives in your present. Every broken piece of your story deserves to be held in gentle hands. Society tells us to get over it and move on. Like healing is some race we're supposed to win. But real healing isn't about speed. It's about understanding. It's about sitting with your pain long enough to learn what it's trying to teach you. Not to torture yourself, but to truly understand yourself. to see how every crack in your heart let in light you couldn't have found any other way. Beneath the surface of your toughest moments, compassion waits like water in desert sand. It might feel strange at first, being kind to the parts of yourself you've spent so long being angry at, the part that trusted too easily, the part that hoped too long, the part that still misses someone who hurt you. These aren't your weaknesses. They're proof that your heart still works, despite everything it's been through. That's not something to criticize. It's something to celebrate. Inside the quiet space between hurt and healing, new understanding grows. Each time you catch yourself being harsh with your own heart, pause. Replace, "I should have known better," with "I know better now." Replace, "I was so stupid," with "I was doing my best." Replace, "I'll never trust again," with "I'll trust differently now." These aren't just words. They're keys unlocking doors in your own soul, letting light into rooms that have been dark too long. Breaking through old patterns feels like learning to walk again. You'll stumble. You'll fall. Old habits of self-blame will try to take over. But each time you choose compassion over criticism, you're building new neural pathways. Each time you speak to yourself with kindness instead of judgment, you're healing not just today's wounds, but every wound that came before. It's like planting gardens in all the places people once left scars. Between the world's harshness and your own healing, build a bridge of gentle understanding. Look at old photos of yourself and speak to that person like you'd speak to your best friend. You were so brave. You survived something really hard. It wasn't your fault. You deserve kindness. Watch how these words, spoken with compassion to your past self, begin to change your present self. Feel how they soften the hard edges of old hurts. Through the lens of compassion, your story transforms from a tragedy into a journey of incredible strength. Each wound becomes a well of wisdom. Each scar becomes a badge of survival. Each painful memory becomes proof of your resilience. Not because the pain wasn't real, but because you learned to hold it with gentle hands. You learned to see your own heart, not as something broken, but as something incredibly strong that kept beating despite everything. Digging for courage feels like searching for water in a desert. At first, you might think there's nothing there. Your hands shake when you try to stand up for yourself. Your voice trembles when you try to speak your truth. Your heart races when you think about facing your fears. But underneath all that fear, past all that doubt, courage sits like an underground spring, waiting to be found. It's not about being fearless. It's about being scared and taking that next step anyway. Sometimes courage whispers so quietly, you almost miss it. It's in the small things you do every day that most people never notice. Getting out of bed when your mind is telling you to give up. Smiling at a stranger when trust feels dangerous. Trying one more time when everything in you wants to quit. These moments don't feel brave. They don't look heroic. But string enough of them together, and suddenly you realize you've been brave all along, just in a quiet, steady way that most people don't talk about. Your heart already knows how to be brave. It proves it every time it beats after being broken. Think about it. After every betrayal, every heartache, every disappointment, that muscle in your chest just keeps going. It doesn't know how to quit. Even when you're sleeping, even when you're crying, even when you think you can't take anymore, your heart keeps beating. That's not just biology. That's courage in its purest form. Your body remembers how to be brave, even when your mind forgets. Deep under layers of doubt and fear, strength grows like roots in rich soil. You might not see it, you might not feel it, but it's there, getting stronger every time you choose to keep going. Every time you say no, when you used to say yes, just to keep the peace. Every time you choose what's right over what's easy. Every time you stand your ground when someone tries to push you around. These moments are like exercise for your courage muscle. Each one makes you a little stronger,